You're live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Modi to attend the 16th BRICS summit in Russia's Kazan. Leaders to adopt the Kazan Declaration at the end of the summit. India's Prime Minister Modi to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan. This will be their first bilateral meeting in 5 years. US Secretary of State Blinken urges Israel to capitalize on Hamas leader's death to end Gaza conflict, also calling for increasing aid in Gaza. US election rivals Donald Trump and Kamala Harris make their pitches to Latino voters as the White House race enters its final phase. And in sports, Indian men's hockey team to face reigning world champions Germany in a 2-test bilateral series in New Delhi. And our first news from 16th BRICS summit at Kazan, Russia. Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the 16th BRICS summit in Russia's Kazan. The summit is themed Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security. The BRICS leaders will exchange views on pressing issues on the global and regional agenda. They will discuss the three main pillars of cooperation identified by the Russian chairmanship: politics and security, the economy and finance, and cultural and humanitarian ties. Particular attention will be given to the potential expansion of BRICS through the proposed establishment of a new category of partner nations. The outcome of these discussions will be summarized in the Kazan Summit Declaration. A BRICS Plus outreach format meeting will also be convened today with representatives from nearly 40 countries in attendance. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the margins of BRICS summit in Russia's Kazan on Wednesday. The meeting comes on close heels of New Delhi and Beijing reaching an agreement on patrolling arrangements in areas along the line of actual control as per the situation in the year 2020 that may lead to disengagement and resolution of other issues in the future.
I can confirm that there will be a bilateral meeting held between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping tomorrow, 23rd of October, on the sidelines of the BRICS summit.
And we have Akshay Dongre joining us for more on this. Well, Akshay, good morning. If we talk about the Prime Minister's visit to Kazan, Prime Minister's bilaterals are scheduled. And yesterday also Prime Minister met President Putin. How does India's role in BRICS reflects its geopolitical ambitions, especially in contrast to its alignment with the Quad?
Well, if you look at the current structure of BRICS right now, Lipakshi, then India is one of the key founding pillars of this grouping that has, in terms of PPP GDP, has also surpassed the G7 countries, whereas the G7 countries' global percentage in terms of GDP is around 30%. The BRICS countries are now contributing over 35% to the global GDP. That truly reflects how important BRICS has become. But when it comes to India, India brings a lot of key elements to BRICS that perhaps would leave an unavoidable, unfillable gap. Rather, that includes India being one of the world, India being the largest democracy in the world. Second is India is a major, in fact, the world's fastest growing major economy, and also one of the one of the youngest countries in the world. So all of these elements that are being brought by India in terms of weightage to BRICS is what truly makes BRICS a very important multilateral organization, multinational organization, and that is what BRICS has been boasting from its inception, from its beginning, that it has some of the world's fastest growing economies. That includes China, that includes India, that has Brazil, it has Russia, and later it also involved South Africa, and now new members keep on joining the grouping. But another aspect that India has brought to BRICS in terms of the grouping is the fact that India is fastly emerging the voice of the global South. And now, because of that, a lot of developing world, a lot of global South countries are taking cues from India, are also lining up to try and join the grouping, which has several now applicants, especially coming in from the global South countries. So that truly shows how India's involvement and India being the key member, the founding member of the group, has impacted this very important global organization.
Right, Akshay. Also, India has been increasingly vocal about representing the global South. How do you think with this summit will help in leveraging BRICS as a platform to address the challenges and interests of particularly the developing nations?
Well, also, if you look at the structure of BRICS, the definition of global South essentially means the countries that are developing, that were at some point of time colonized. And when it comes to the grouping, you look at most of the partners that are in BRICS. You have India, you have China, you also have Brazil, you have South Africa, you have Iran, and other countries of the global South as well. Barring countries like Russia and a few more, you have most of the countries coming in from global South already. But when it comes to India's involvement and India being extremely vocal about the issues of the global South, India's involvement here at this forum as well, and India's voicing the concerns of the global South, has also made those countries quite intrigued about the agenda of BRICS. Unlike several other international groups, where it is sort of it has become a gang of groups. It has become a group. For example, if you talk about G7, those have become, in many terms, elitist groupings, where not a lot of countries were either invited or are invited or can take part when it comes to the proceeding of those groups. But when you look at BRICS, it has been inclusive. It has been purely on the financial basis, also on the geopolitical basis as well, where the countries, especially the major growing economies, could take part. And it is not an organization that works in silos. So it also has been giving opportunity for through BRICS Plus, where many other countries that are not even member can join and can rather be part of this massive geopolitical movement that had started with BRICS.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those details. And moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Russian President Putin on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan yesterday. They looked at the increasing role BRICS is playing in world affairs. They also reviewed the special strategic partnership that India and Russia share. Take a look.
The close ties between India and Russia remain as strong as ever. This was clear during India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the 16th BRICS summit in Kazan. Prime Minister Modi lauded Russia's leadership in BRICS, noting the group's increasing global influence, with several nations eager to join.
मेरे लिए खुशी की बात है कि ब्रिक्स समिट के लिए कजान जैसे खूबसूरत शहर में आने का अवसर मिला है। इस शहर के साथ भारत के गहरे और ऐतिहासिक संबंध रहे हैं। कजान में भारत के नए कॉन्सुलेट के खुलने से ये संबंध और मजबूत होंगे।
The two leaders reviewed the full spectrum of India-Russia relations, focusing on progress made since the last meeting in Moscow. Discussions centered on enhancing cooperation across key sectors and sharing views on critical global issues, including the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
एक्सेलेंसी, रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच चल रहे संघर्ष के विषय पर हम लगातार संपर्क में रहे हैं। जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा है, हमारा मानना है कि समस्याओं का समाधान शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से ही होना चाहिए। शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली का हम पूरी तरह समर्थन करते हैं। हमारे सभी प्रयास मानवता को प्रमुखता देते हैं। आने वाले समय में भी भारत हर संभव सहयोग देने के लिए तैयार है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज इन सभी विषयों पर विचार साझा करने का एक और महत्वपूर्ण अवसर है।
President Putin reiterated the strategic nature of the India-Russia partnership, emphasizing the importance of cooperation that will need to make important decisions that would strengthen BRICS' functioning and its global role.
We appreciate the ongoing Indo-Russian cooperation as important. Russia and India have a special privileged partnership which keeps growing. We welcome your decision to open Council General in Kazan. The relations between the two nations will improve under your leadership.
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi received a warm welcome from the Indian community in Kazan. The Indian diaspora in Kazan continues to make its mark globally, promoting Indian culture and contributing to various sectors with pride. With inputs from Jessica Taneja, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bilateral meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that Prime Minister and President Putin reviewed bilateral relations since their July meeting in Moscow. They addressed a wide range of issues, including trade, economy, energy, defense and education, while also discussing regional and global concerns.
The two leaders had an extensive agenda to go over. The whole range of bilateral issues, including trade, economic, energy, defense, connectivity, education, and people-to-people ties were discussed between the two of them. Regional and global issues of mutual concern also came up for discussion. The two leaders also exchanged views on several matters concerning BRICS, and President Putin expressed his appreciation for India's constructive attitude and contributions in concluding the documents related to the Kazan BRICS summit.
Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the dinner hosted for BRICS leaders in Kazan, Russia. India's Prime Minister Modi, along with other BRICS leaders, witnessed a musical performance. And India's Prime Minister also held bilateral talks with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. Discussions focused on India-Iran bilateral relations, including the importance of INSTC and Chabahar port for regional connectivity. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that PM Modi raised concerns about the situation in West Asia, stressed upon protection of civilians and the role of diplomacy in de-escalation of the situation.
Prime Minister and President Pezeshkian had a fruitful discussion. This was their first meeting since President Pezeshkian's election as the 9th President of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Prime Minister congratulated him on his recent victory and reaffirmed India's commitment to deepening the age-old bilateral ties with Iran. The discussion focused on key areas of cooperation, particularly the Chabahar port and the international north-south transport corridor, which are crucial for enhancing regional connectivity and economic partnerships. In fact, seamless connectivity in the region was a theme of this meeting.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is on USA visit, highlights India's process governance reforms for investors. And we'll tell you all about the upcoming assembly polls in Jharkhand and Maharashtra. We'll also give you updates on Cyclone Dana as East Indian states of Odisha and West Bengal are bracing for its impact. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman interacted with students at the Wharton Business School, University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, USA. During her interaction, she highlighted India's process governance reforms for investors and said that India is at a very critical juncture when you look at the ways India has to move forward. She also stated that the country has set a destination of becoming a developed nation by the year 2047.
The Prime Minister gave himself this formulation, two of them. One is how are we going to go about this? So I would compress it to say 4 I's. First is infrastructure to be developed, whether it is your physical infrastructure in the name of bridges, ports, whatever, or the digital infrastructure which is so critical for so many different purposes. So infrastructure. The second would be to invest in it. And in that comes the element of private investments, but more importantly to kickstart the whole thing, have public investment go in. Third I is innovation. Unless we come up with innovative solutions for our problems and our aspirations, you're not going to last. And most important is inclusiveness. In everything that we do, we want to make sure that everybody gets included. We are not going to let any one particular section of a society, omission or commission, not including people.
Well, prior to her US visit, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was in Mexico from October 17th to 20th, where she interacted with political and business leaders from various sectors in both Guadalajara and Mexico City. And the Indian Army concluded its integrated fire and maneuver training exercise Swalamban Shakti on Tuesday at the Babina Field firing ranges located in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. The 3-day-long training began on 17th October and focused on testing new technologies developed by Indian manufacturers in line with the Self-Reliant India initiative. The exercise involved testing over 50 new technologies from more than 40 local industry partners under realistic battlefield conditions. It aimed to assess how well these technologies could support the Army's needs during operations. Well, the third edition of the Indian Navy's Naval Innovation and Indigenization Seminar, Swalamban 2024, will be held at Bharat Mandapam in Delhi later this month. This initiative has enabled collaboration with more than 200 MSMEs and startups under the IDEX scheme. The event will showcase products of niche technologies such as air and surface surveillance, autonomous systems in surface, aerial and underwater domains, AI and quantum technologies.
We have converted about 2,000 challenges that we have put out so far in the Swalamban 1, which was 2022, 2022, 2023. In these two, we put out about 2,000 challenges, of which we've got the acceptance of necessity of the government for about 171, 172. And we've signed contracts that go to something like 1,194 crores already.
India and Pakistan have agreed to extend the validity of the agreement on Sri Kartarpur Sahib corridor for a period of 5 years. The agreement signed between two countries on 24th of October 2019 to facilitate the visit of pilgrims from India to Gurudwara Darbar Sahib Kartarpur in Pakistan's Narowal through the Kartarpur Sahib corridor was valid for a period of 5 years. Extension of the validity of this agreement will ensure uninterrupted operation of the corridor for use by the pilgrims from India to visit the Holy Gurudwara in Pakistan. In view of the continued request of pilgrims regarding the removal of USD20 service charge levied by Pakistan per pilgrim per visit, India has once again urged Pakistan to not levy any fee or charges on the pilgrims. And Jharkhand Mukti Morcha on Tuesday has released its first list of 35 candidates for the upcoming assembly polls in the state. As per the list, Chief Minister Hemant Soren will contest from the Barhet Assembly constituency, while his wife Kalpana Soren will contest from the Gande seat. Other candidates include MP Raja from Rajmahal seat, Dhananjay Soren from Borio, Basant Soren from Dumka, Haziful Hassan from Madhupur, Baby Devi from Damuri, Baidhanath Ram from Latehar and Kedar Hazra from Jamua seat. The Jharkhand polls will be held in two phases on the November 13th and November 20th, and the counting of votes will be taken up on the 23rd of November. Shiv Sena has also released its final list of 45 candidates for the upcoming Maharashtra Assembly polls. According to the list, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde will contest from the Kopri Pachpakadi Assembly constituency. Other candidates include Manisha Ravindra Vaikar from Jogeshwari, Suhas Dwarkanath Kande from Nandgaon, Pradeep Shivnaran Jaiswal from Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, and Balaji Devi Dasrao Kalyankar from Nanded Gunot. This comes as Maharashtra prepares for a single-phase election on the 20th of November, with counting set for the 23rd of November. And updates on Cyclone Dana now. The East Indian states of Odisha and West Bengal are bracing for cyclone impact as Dana is set to hit the coastline of the two states as a severe cyclonic storm between Thursday night and Friday morning, unleashing a peak wind speed of 120 kilometers an hour. The Weather Forecasting Agency has issued heavy rainfall alerts in Odisha and West Bengal. Evacuations are currently underway in coastal regions of the two states as preparations intensify. South Bengal is anticipated to experience rainfall starting on Wednesday. In Odisha, more than 5,000 relief centers have been set up with all modern facilities. The cyclone Dana has also affected the train movement, with several trains cancelled. Schools and academic institutions will remain closed in both states to ensure the safety of students. Cyclone Dana will be the second cyclonic storm to strike the Indian coast in 2 months after Cyclone Asna hit the peninsula in late August. Moving on, the air quality index in the national capital Delhi was recorded very poor at 349 on Wednesday as per Safar India. As Delhi's air quality deteriorated, Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai on Thursday announced that GRAP Stage 2 rules have been enforced across North India as the air quality index has crossed over 300. The Commission for Air Quality Management ordered the implementation of the GRAP 2 in Delhi NCR on Monday after the overall air quality index dropped. Under Stage 2 of the GRAP, there will be restrictions on the use of coal and firewood as well as diesel generator sets in the Delhi National Capital Region. Well, the International Monetary Fund on Tuesday retained its growth rate projects for India in its latest World Economic Outlook and expected India to grow at 7% in the current fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025 and 6.5% in the next fiscal year. The IMF said in India, the outlook is for GDP growth to moderate from 8.2% in 2023 to 7% in 2024 and 6.5% in 2025 because pent-up demand accumulated during the pandemic has been exhausted as the economy reconnects with its potential. These forecasts would still retain India as one of the world's fastest growing major economies. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Ahead of the Putsa festival in India, a laser light show was organized at Ayodhya's Surya Kund in the temple town. The show was a visual treat for the audience. The laser show depicted the life of Lord Ram, his journey to the throne and the arrival of Lord's son to earth. The show, which brought the epic characters of Ramayana to life in a dynamic display, left the audience spellbound.
वो अखंड शक्ति स्रोत जो दिशा दिखाता है सत्य मन करता है।
Earthen lamp and idol production in full swing ahead of Diwali festival in India. Artisans from West Bengal's Birbhum makes earthen lamps to be used during Diwali to decorate homes and will be celebrated across the country on the 31st of October. Diwali marks the victory of good over evil and the elimination of darkness by illuminating with positivity. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Israel confirms killing of Hezbollah Executive Council head Hashim Safieddine, presumed successor of Nasrallah. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer warned Russian President Putin not to gamble on global food security in his attempts to force Ukraine into submission. And Hurricane Oscar makes landfall in Cuba as Category 1 storm rescue operations continue.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Unravel the rich history. And traditions of these places. Marvel at the stories that lie in its beautiful architecture. Bask in the tranquility of its greenery and beaches. Experience the agelessness of its traditional handicrafts and handloom industry. Recognize its industrial leadership. And celebrate Diu's commitment to a sustainable future.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister Modi to attend the 16th BRICS Summit in Russia's Kazan. Leaders to adopt the Kazan Declaration at the end of the summit. India's PM Modi to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS Summit in Kazan. This will be their first bilateral meeting in 5 years. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken urges Israel to capitalize on Hamas leader's death to end Gaza conflict, also calling for increasing aid in Gaza. U.S. election rivals Donald Trump and Kamala Harris make their pitches to Latino voters as the White House race enters its final phase. And in sports, Indian men's hockey team to face reigning world champions Germany in a 2-test bilateral series in New Delhi. On a mission to find solution to West Asia conflict, U.S. top diplomat Antony Blinken met with Israeli leadership on Tuesday, bringing hostages back, Gaza aid, and with that an end to the conflict were the main talking points. Though his visit to Jordan, planned to be on Wednesday, was postponed without giving any reason. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israeli President Isaac Herzog and agreed that there is an opportunity to bring the hostages home after the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
I believe very much that the death of Sinwar does create an important opportunity to bring the hostages home, to bring the war to an end, and to ensure Israel's security. And that's exactly what our conversations today focused on with our Israeli colleagues, including arrangements for the period following the end of the conflict.
Well, during his meeting with Israeli Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant on Tuesday, Blinken discussed operational progress made by the Israeli Defense Force in various arenas, efforts to ensure the return of hostages, and the importance of the U.S. stance with Israel following Israel's response to Iran's attack on Israel. Blinken said this will strengthen regional deterrence and weaken the axis of evil. Early in the day, Blinken also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where they discussed the need for more humanitarian aid to reach civilians in Gaza. Blinken pressed Netanyahu to capitalize on the killing of Hamas leader by securing the release of the October 7 attack hostages. They also discussed other concrete steps moving forward, including setting up post-war structures in the Palestinian territory. After repeated abortive attempts to broker a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, Blinken was making his 11th trip to the West Asia since Gaza conflict erupted, and the last before a presidential election that could upend U.S. policy. Meanwhile, Israel promised to address U.S. concerns over the deteriorating humanitarian situation in Gaza, while Blinken called their efforts as insufficient. And we have Amit Mukherjee joining us for more on this. Well, Amit, as Antony Blinken makes another push to diffuse conflicts in West Asia, considering the current timings, and also he calling it an insufficient, thing done by the West Asia, can we expect any breakthrough with international pressure also now building up?
Well, Lipakshi, pressure has been on for quite some time now, but the ground realities as of now in West Asia point to a different story altogether. Because as far as Israel is concerned, they have made no commitment so far. As far as the ceasefire is concerned, neither Hamas has kind of agreed to release all the hostages. It has said categorically that unless and until the assault, the operation stop in Gaza, the raids by the Israeli guards stop in Gaza, they're not going to release the hostages. Also, as far as the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel is concerned, rockets are constantly being fired onto each other's territory. In fact, just before Secretary Blinken landed in Tel Aviv, there were rocket signals sounded in Tel Aviv, and there was a potential attack. There was an attack by the Hezbollah operators from outside the Israeli region. In fact, about 130 rockets were fired on Tuesday night. So as far as the ground realities are concerned, the war doesn't seem to kind of end anywhere, and unless and until the situation is created, a ceasefire is quite unlikely at this point in time. In fact, Israel has also made a statement about killing of Hassan Sufeddin, who was the potential successor of Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader who was killed in an operation by Israel a few weeks back. So the situation as of now, it's quite tensed. And also there's a lot of anticipation as far as Israel's response to the Iranian attack which happened 2 weeks back on its territory is concerned. So situation is quite volatile, Lipakshi.
All right, Amit, thank you so much for all that details. And Israel on Tuesday confirmed it had killed Hashim Saifuddin, the heir apparent to Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, who was previously killed in an Israeli attack on October 4th. The military said Saifuddin was killed in a strike carried out 3 weeks ago in Beirut's southern suburbs, its first confirmation of his death. A relative of Nasrallah, Saifuddin was responsible for its military operations and executive council that overseeing Hezbollah's financial and administrative affairs. And in their efforts to attract different segments of American society, U.S. presidential rivals Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are each looking to make their economic pitches to Latino voters with election just less than 2 weeks away. Kamala Harris on Tuesday said she would work to bring more funds to community banks to help Latino men secure small business loans. Harris added that America is absolutely ready to elect its first woman president, while Republican Donald Trump's economic roundtable aimed at Latino voters devolved into a tirade of insults against his opponent.
Absolutely. And I am saying that in terms of every walk of life of our country. I think part of what is important in this election is really not only turning the page, but closing the page and the chapter on an era that suggests that Americans are divided.
She's sleeping right now. She couldn't go on the trail. You'd think when you have 14 days left, you wouldn't be sleeping. She's not doing anything today. I should take one of that. We've gone 5 days in a row, and I'm going 14 more days, and we're going to have a big victory party, hopefully, and we're going to turn our country around. We're going to make it great again, as I say. We're going to make America great again.
Well, U.S. President Joe Biden said on Tuesday that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and should be locked up politically. Biden said to applause at a Democratic campaign office in Concord, New Hampshire, that Trump wants to disregard the safeguards of the U.S. Constitution.
Thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if need be, if it was the case, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes to be a threat to him. So I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up. Lock him out, that's what we have to do.
Well, former U.S. President Barack Obama also hit the campaign trail for Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris, warning voters in the key swing states that Donald Trump cannot be allowed back into the office. Obama appeared alongside Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, in Wisconsin's state capital, Madison. Walz and Obama took aim at former President Trump's age and recent behavior, with Walz saying Trump doesn't have the stamina to be president, and Obama mocking Trump's marketing of branded watches and Bibles.
So, look, my point is, you'd be worried if Grandpa was acting like this. Right? You'd call up your brother, you'd call up your cousins, you say, have you noticed? But this is coming from somebody who wants unchecked power. So Wisconsin, we do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails. America's ready to turn the page. We are ready for a better story, Wisconsin. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
You know what you noticed? It takes stamina to run for president. It takes stamina to be president. And Donald Trump does not have stamina. He has been rambling more than the normal rambling. He calls it the weave. Donald, come on. We know there's only one weave that you know anything about, and it is not this. It is not this. He's ducked debates, but you can't blame him. When you get your ass whipped that hard, you don't come back for seconds.
And now we have Shubhendu joining us from New York and Amrit Pal joining us from Texas on this. Well, good morning to both of you. Shubhendu, candidates bringing in big names at various rallies in Atlanta and Philadelphia in the coming days. Trump is also campaigning. His campaign is focusing on immigration and border security in the final stretch. How is the campaigning going on there?
Well, the campaigning is hitting its peaks, Lipakshi, if I were to use that phrase. Both the candidates are using all the firepower that is there at their disposal for these last couple of weeks of campaigning before the big day, November 5th, election day. As you mentioned, Kamala Harris will be supported by rock star Bruce Springsteen in Philadelphia, as well as in Georgia, where he'll be campaigning for Kamala Harris, while Barack Obama will also be putting in his weight around, and he would also be addressing the public rallies there. Elon Musk, on the other side, we see has made his presence increasingly prominent in Donald Trump's camp and campaigning. Remember, a few days ago, he announced that $1 million award for all registered voter supporter of the Republican Party in the swing states, and that's where the contest really is. The 7 swing states, and both the candidates don't want their supporters to be left behind. Getting them to the voting booth seems to be the priority now. The campaign, when we vote, we win, is part of the Democratic agenda to make sure that all their supporters and more are taken to the voting booth on the election day or in the early voting that is on. Lipakshi?
Right. My second question to you, Amrit. If we talk about the poll survey, a new poll survey predicts Harris to hold about 3% lead over Trump in the November 5th elections. With early voting underway, if the Harris Walz campaign announced on Tuesday that their When We Vote, We Win event aims to mobilize the voters in all the 7 key battleground states, including Georgia and Pennsylvania. Could you tell us more on that?
That's right. The idea is to, as Shubhendu was also saying, to mobilize voters because the contest is too close. If the Reuters survey, which is the latest survey, which gives Kamala a 3 percentage point lead over Donald Trump, 45 for the Democrats, 42 for the Republicans, though it's just one survey, there are other surveys which give her a lead of about 1.8%. She has an overall lead, but it is too close to call, because if you factor in the error of margin, then it makes it could go either way. But a 3 percentage point lead over Donald Trump surely is a shot in the arm for her, because that could really tip the election, and that could tip the balance. Now, but it is really a neck and neck fight. It is really a tight race, as Shubhendu and you rightly said, in the battleground states, because they will decide practically who the next president of the United States of America would be, and that's why you see hectic campaigning by both candidates and their supporters. Former presidents Barack Obama, along with Walz or Joe Biden, campaigning for Kamala. Donald Trump's supporters, including Elon Musk, giving sops to the voters. So they are offering all they can, trading barbs, calling each other threats to democracy, using all kinds of languages, suggestive phrases like lock him up and lock him out politically, etc. Remember, this phrase was first used against Hillary when in 2016 by Trump supporters, and Trump would silently encourage them to do that. So it is the Democrats giving it back to Donald Trump, his own medicine. So therefore it shows you how close the contest really is.
Right. Shubhendu, if I may ask you, as Amrit was also saying, early voting has already kicked off in battleground Wisconsin with a push from Obama and Walz. How do you see this? What's the scene at the swing states?
That's right, Lipakshi. As we speak, millions of voters across America have already cast their ballot, have chosen who their candidate is. The rule says that about 45 days before the election day, states can choose as per their convenience and they can organize early voting. Traditionally, there is a certain edge that the Democrats get in the early voting. The Republican narrative has been, again, historically that there are a lot of malpractices that come into being in early voting, and therefore most of the Republican supporters prefer to cast their ballot on the election day, which is 5th of November. So a certain edge that is being seen for Kamala Harris in the early voting is expected to be balanced out as far as the main election day is concerned. So it is a very, very close contest, Lipakshi, and therefore we also see, going back to the point of really encouraging every single voter, supporter to come out and vote. Extensive efforts are being made, celebrities are being used, public figures are being used to motivate voters, social media is being used extensively. We learnt about a certain app called Reach app, which helps you reach the remotest voter in a particular electorate to ensure that you pass your message to them very clearly. So in that sense, no stone unturned to make sure that the candidates get an edge first in the early voting and then on the big day, on Tuesday.
All right. Amrit,
5th of November.
All right. Amrit, if you could tell us, as the Super Tuesday draws to the close and the race remains particularly very, very close, could you tell our viewers why a Tuesday? There's a story behind it.
Oh, I'll tell you the story behind the Super Tuesday, but first let me tell you something about early voting, to which Shubhendu referred to. That's very interesting. Early voting is, as Shubhendu was saying, either in person or mail-in votes. You can cast your votes. Most states allow that. Some ask for, or actually all states allow that. Only some ask for reasons why you want to vote in early. And Democrats traditionally had an edge over that because generally city voters would vote, and that's where the Democratic vote is mostly concentrated on because they were out for work or they were vacationing or they were traveling, etc. And Donald Trump has called for, has put into question the whole early voting system, saying that it's fixed. But interestingly, the Republicans themselves, now I'm talking about the voters, want early voting. So that's very interesting. And the other interesting thing is that though early voting takes place before the November 5th or the Super Tuesday election, the early votes are counted last. And that sometimes makes a difference. And whoever and this time around there's record early voting. There's a lot of interest in early voting because of the mobilization that has been done by both parties. So these are some interesting facts about okay, Super Tuesday, the first Tuesday of November is when they vote, and that's when the presidential elections take place. Lipakshi.
Right. Thank you so much, Amrit and Shubhendu, for all those details from there. And moving on, Russia's increased attacks on the Black Sea ports in Ukraine are delaying vital aid reaching Palestinians and stopping crucial grain supplies from being delivered to the global south. Issuing a statement on Tuesday, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that Russia's indiscriminate strikes on ports in the Black Sea underscore that President Vladimir Putin is willing to gamble on global food security in his attempts to force Ukraine into submission. Ukraine is a major global wheat and corn grower, and before Russia's invasion in 2022, the country exported about 6 million tons of grain alone per month via the Black Sea. Despite the ongoing conflict, grain sales remain a crucial revenue source for the country. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli completes 100 days in office on Tuesday. PM Oli assumed office on July 15th and formed a 22-member Council of Ministers. The present government is a coalition of two big parties of the House of Representatives. Bangladeshi students took to the streets of Dhaka on Tuesday demanding government's dramatic surge in violence against women. Protesters chanted slogans and said that incidents of rapes and harassment of women have increased even in comparison to the earlier government that existed till August. Women's rights group Bangladesh Mohila Parishad said their organization had recorded cases of violence against women increased by more than a quarter in September compared to the previous months. A fuel truck ran out of control and exploded into flames near the Ugandan capital on Tuesday, killing 11 people, including 2 minors. People died while they rushed to steal fuel from tanker involved in road accident, even though driver tried to warn those coming to loot that it would explode. At least one person has died and dozens have fallen sick following a severe E. coli outbreak linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounder hamburgers. As per the authorities, the outbreak spans 10 western states, with most of the 49 cases concentrated in Colorado and Nebraska. Shares in the fast food chain dropped more than 6% in after-hours trading following the announcement. And time now for some business news. U.S. coffee giant Starbucks released preliminary results showing that sales are continuing to fall. The company also suffered in China, where comparable store sales declined 14%, weighed down by intensified competition and a soft macro environment that impacted consumer spending. As of the end of June, the United States and China stores respectively accounted for 61% of all Starbucks coffee shops worldwide. Tokyo Metro shares soared more than 40% on their debut on Wednesday after its government owners raised $2.3 billion in Japan's biggest initial public offering since 2018. In early trade, Tokyo Metro shares were up by 45% from their issue price of 1,200 yen, with reports saying the issue was 15 times so oversubscribed among the investors. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The Indian men's hockey team will face reigning world champions Germany in a 2-match series at Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium on 23rd and 24th of October. This comes after India's successful defence of their title at the Asian Champions Trophy in China. The series marks the return of international hockey to the national capital. Harmanpreet Singh will captain the Indian side with Vivek Sagar Prasad as vice-captain. Hardik Singh, India's dynamic midfielder, will miss the series due to an injury from the Paris Olympic Games as he continues his rehabilitation. The series will also see Rajinder Singh and Aditya Arjun Lagate make their international debuts. Well, Arsenal secured a 1-0 victory over Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League, bouncing back from their weekend defeat by Bournemouth. The only goal came in the 29th minute when Gabriel Martinelli's shot hit the post and ricocheted off Shakhtar goalkeeper Dmitro Rezink, resulting in an unfortunate own goal. Injuries continue to trouble Arsenal as they played without Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka, while Ben White and Ricardo Calafioro both had to be substituted during the game. Leandro Trossard missed a late penalty for Arsenal, and Shakhtar's Pedrino nearly equalised in stoppage time, but David Raya made a crucial save to preserve the win. Arsenal now looks ahead of their important clash with Liverpool on Sunday. And Vinicius Jr. scored a hat-trick as Real Madrid staged a remarkable second-half comeback to defeat Borussia Dortmund 5-2 in the UEFA Champions League. Dortmund took control early with Daniel Millin and Jamie Gittins, giving them a comfortable lead in the first half. Real responded in the second half with Antonio Rudiger's header in the 60th minute, followed by Vinicius Junior's quick equaliser. Captain Lucas Vazquez put Madrid ahead with a late strike in the 83rd minute before Vinicius sealed the win with 2 more goals after impressive solo efforts. Carlo Ancelotti's side has won 2 of their 3 league phase matches, giving them the same record as Dortmund. And Aston Villa's impressive Champions League run continued as they celebrated Unai Emery's 2nd anniversary in charge by going to top of the table with a 2-0 victory over Bologna. Captain John McGinn opened the scoring in the 55th minute with a free kick that bypassed everyone, including Bologna's goalkeeper, to find the back of the net. John Duran doubled Villa's lead 9 minutes later with a close-range finish, marking his 7th goal of the season. Despite being substituted immediately after scoring, Villa maintained their control. This win adds to their victories over Young Boys and Bayern Munich, giving them 9 points from 3 games in their return to European competition. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.